He ran from home to save himself from a father who would rather break him than let him dream. He ended up in an abandoned photo studio in Philadelphia, where he met an older man who taught him how to breathe through the pain and face the camera like it was his only chance. Between them grew a tension impossible to hide, hands pausing on ribs, eyes burning longer than the flash. But the past came hunting, enemies, a former lover, and secrets sharp enough to turn every frame into evidence. Now he must choose between chasing the dream of New York or holding on to the man who sheltered him but might vanish again. It all collides on a train platform where one decision means either a future or a loss that will never heal. Yet the real question remains, did he walk away, or is their story only just beginning? Philadelphia was angry when the night broke me. I stepped out of the shower, and the air bit my skin as my father's voice tore down the hallway like a siren. Modeling, he shouted, "This is what you've been sneaking around to do." I opened the door a crack. He stood over the kitchen table, fists on a pile of printed emails me messages with a New York agent, ID hidden in a folder called Math. My laptop glowed like evidence in a courtroom. You want to parade around for money like he stopped, but the words still landed. Anger came in hot and clean. You went through my stuff. While you're under my roof, you'll know exactly what kind of man you're becoming. The slap was quick. My cheek burned, something in me hardened. I didn't cry, I didn't beg. I walked past him dripping, each footprint a wet signature that said I was done being quiet. I threw on a hoodie and ruined jeans, grabbed my phone and a chew, dumped charger, stuffed cash from a coffee can into my pocket. The keys to my mom's old Corolla hung by the door like a dare. I opened it. Rain hit me sideways. The car coughed awake, the radio spat static. I drove north, past bruised stoops. The wipers lost my phone lit with calls. Somewhere between Fishtown and the interstate, the engine stuttered. I eased into a dead gas station, windows boarded, the sign half missing. The storm kept punching. I put my head on the wheel and laughed once. 20 years old, a face someone said people don't forget, a dream that needed a city I couldn't afford. A father who'd rather break me than watch me change. I climbed into the back seat, curled around my backpack, tried to breathe slow. Lightning scattered my thoughts and pinned one in place, a card soft from months in my wallet. I traced the number with my thumb like it could warm me. It didn't. Then a flicker across the street. Flit sign above a narrow door. Elia's studio portraits by appointment. A coffee cup steamed on the sill. I checked the rearview lane and the ghost of who I used to be. I grabbed the card, my hoodie, and crossed the slick street. I knocked twice, harder the second time. A bolt slid. The door opened a hand's width. Tired eyes studied me. "You're soaked," he said. "Car died." He opened the door the rest of the way and stepped back. Warm air spilled over me like a promise. Inside smelled like Fixer. Stands leaned, cables ran like veins. A heater buzzed. The man tossed me a towel and a faded sweatshirt. "Dry off," he said. "This city eats boys like you." "Leo," I said, as if my name could fend off a city. Mark, his gaze flicked to the bruise on my cheek. He didn't ask, I didn't explain. He heated soup. I wrapped my hands around the bowl. He leaned on the counter, listening like he already knew the ending. "You do portraits?" I asked, used to. The silence settled, heavy but not hostile. Faces on a cork wall stared back, caught just before they told the truth. I wondered what mine would look like exposed like that. "Can I crash here just tonight?" I asked. His jaw worked. The storm rattled the back door. Finally, he nodded toward a cot behind a canvas curtain. "One night, no snooping. You're gone in the morning." I changed into the sweatshirt, felt his eyes almost, but not quite look away. My bruise throbbed. His breath hitched. He swallowed whatever he wanted to say. I lay on the cot and watched shadows climb the ceiling. Behind the curtain, a radio murmured low jazz. I listened for footsteps that didn't come. I told myself I'd sleep. I didn't. I told myself I wasn't scared. I told myself I could leave in the morning. I wasn't sure I wanted to. The storm kept talking. So did the city. Under both, a quieter sound, a camera shutter, like a memory waking up. Outside, I woke to coffee and the ache in my cheek. For a moment I didn't know the ceiling or the low hum of the heater. Then the storm's leftover drip hit the window frame and the studio returned. Mark stood by the counter, sleeves pushed up, a camera on the table like a sleeping animal. He nodded when he saw me sit up, the kind of hello that didn't risk waking trouble. "Drink," he said, sliding a mug toward me. "Then tell me if anyone's going to show up hunting. My father, The word tasted like metal. "No, you sure?" "No," I said, "because lies are heavier in the morning. Eat." He set out toast, an orange, a jar of peanut butter with a torn label. It steadied me. "It'll be gone by 10, I said. "Thank you for your not astray," he said, "just in a bad doorway." My phone lit with a text. "You have 10 minutes to come back or the locks change." Then another, "Bring the laptop." The room tilted. I tightened my grip on the mug so I wouldn't shake. "He has my portfolio," I said. Mark glanced at the cork wall, at those faces waiting to be named. "You need new pictures anyway," he said. "You said you used to shoot." "I used to do a lot of things." He picked up the camera and pointed the lens at the floor. I stopped when the city took more than it gave. I touched the bruise and watched him watch me do it. "Maybe it's time you steal something back," I said. He rolled out a backdrop and woke a softbox. "Rules," he said. "You do what I say. If I say stop, we stop. If you say stop, we stop faster. Night taught you enough. Am not here to teach pain." I nodded. My shoulders dropped. He didn't pose me. He asked me to breathe, to stand like I was about to leave, to look at the door like last night. The camera clicked when I found the truth. We worked until the high window light turned honest. Between bursts, he checked his phone, then set it face down. "I know someone in New York," he said finally. "A scout. She owes me. You said you were done. I also said the city eats boys like you. Sometimes you throw it a decoy." He showed me the screen. The face on it looked older and more dangerous than I felt. The bruise threaded the picture like a question. "That stays," he said. "My father put it there. I figured. It still stays." He lowered the camera. "Agency will see a story, not a boy. What if I don't know the story yet? Then we tell the part you know." He opened an old laptop and typed. "Name, Leo. Just Leo. Leo works." He created a folder, dragged images, adjusted shadow. He didn't soften me. At 9:45 he printed 3 proofs and taped them up. I stood under them like a witness. The heater clicked off. The room listened. "You can stay 2 more nights," he said without looking at me. "You'll clean and sweep. I'll call the scout at noon. If she bites, you go to New York with pictures and a ride. If not, you still go. You're not going back. My father will change the locks either way." He met my gaze. "People like him, only no doors." Something in my chest loosened. "Why help me?" He peeled the orange, the skin coming off in one ribbon. "Once, someone let me in out of the rain," he said. "I left anyway. I thought survival meant never owing anyone anything. I was wrong. I looked at the curtain from last night, and at the neat little life he guarded." "What did you leave?" "A decade," he said, "and a man who took pictures of everyone but me." The phone on the table buzzed again. Mark turned it over. Unknown number. He muted it. 10 o'clock, he said. "You're still here." "I am," I said. "I guess that's the first decision you made for yourself today." He handed me the orange. "Start small." "Lunch at 11, he said. "Then we call." I nodded. "Okay." The proofs watched us in silence. The day gathered speed. I chose to keep up anyway. Now he grinned without showing teeth. "And Leo, yeah, where the bruise?" The scout didn't answer at noon. Mark left a message, set the phone down, and went quiet in that way that means noise is coming later. We filled the silence with work. He had me sweep, coil cables, wipe down lenses like heirlooms. I moved the way you move when you're trying not to think about doors changing locks. "Hold still," he said when the light through the high window turned thin. He adjusted the softbox and stepped closer. The sweatshirt head given me hung loose. The bruise had purpled into its final shape. His knuckles brushed my jaw as he pretended to fix the collar. Heat moved under my skin like a vent had opened. "Sorry," he said. He wastened. "It's fine," I said. "I waste." He lifted the camera. "Look at me like you're not sure if I should be trusted." "That's easy." Click. Another. "Breathe," he said. I did. It shuddered on the way out. He switched to tethered shooting, images popping on the laptop a half-second after the shutter. Each frame looked like a version of me I might believe if I stared long enough. Mark stood behind me, one hand braced on the table, leaning close enough that I felt the air warm where his chest met my shoulder blade. "You hold yourself like you expect impact," he murmured. "I usually get it. Not here." The heater coughed. He moved a fraction closer. On the screen, my mouth was set, like I was keeping a secret from myself. "Let me show you something," he said. He stepped in front of me, reached past my hip for the remote, his forearm grazing the sweatshirt. He turned the camera toward us and didn't tell me to pose. Forget the lens. I tried. Something in me still held a charge. Mark watched me in the mirror of the glass, expression careful, a man measuring risk against hunger. He pressed the button. The click ran through both of us. On the screen, the picture waited. My face turned slightly toward him, his shoulder just inside the frame, our distance the width of a breath. We shot until the light broke. He lowered the blinds and turned on a lamp. "Soup again," he said, and I nodded. We ate at the counter. The radio found a slow song with no patience for bravado. "Who taught you to hold a camera like that?" I asked. A man who wanted the world but settled for proof had been near it. He set the towel down. "You? A mirror in a bus station," I said. I practiced faces I might need. "Show me one." I did the easy grin, the daunt, worry face, the "you can't hurt me" half smirk. He shook his head after each. "Show me the one you haven't named," he said. I tried and failed. "Close your eyes," he said softly. I did. "Where does it hurt?" "Everywhere. Pick a place. Let the rest be quiet." "My ribs." He stepped in front of me. His hand hovered and then rested on my sweatshirt, not pressing, just there, warm and steady, as if a light had chosen a wall. "Breathe where my hand is," he said. I did. The room dropped an octave. I felt his breath at the edge of my face. "Open your eyes." I did. He was closer than the rules liked. He didn't move, neither did I. He smelled like laundry left too long in sunlight and a trace of fixer. My stomach tightened, not in fear but in recognition. "This is the face," he whispered. He stepped back first. The space between us felt like something we would have to cross later, carefully or not at all. "Another rule," he said, almost smiling. "No saving me." "I didn't plan on it," I said. The phone buzzed. Mark answered on speaker. "Elias," a woman said. "Crisp. I saw your email. Who's the kid?" "Leo," he said. "He's new. He's honest. Honesty da. Book," she said. "Send 3 shots. Front, profile, something with teeth. If he can be in Manhattan tomorrow by 10, it'll get him in front of someone who still remembers what a face is for. We can." Mark said without looking at me. She laughed once. "Back to the land of the living, Elias." The call ended like a door shutting in a hallway. Mark set the phone down. We breathed the same held breath and then let it go. "Tomorrow," he said. 10, I said. He nodded. "Take the cot again. I want sleep." "Me neither," he said, then caught himself. Too much to prep. He lowered the blinds the rest of the way. The studio pulled tight. We moved in careful orbits. I folded the blanket, he stacked prints. When we passed each other, the space narrowed to a filament. At midnight, he clicked off the lamp. The dark settled and made everything simpler. "Good night, Leo." "Good night, Mark." The cot sighed under my weight. Through the curtain I heard him sit, then stand, then sit again. A minute later, a soft step. The curtain stirred as if a hand had thought about moving it and decided not to. I didn't sleep. I listened to his breath even out. Mine tried to match and failed. It wasted fear keeping me awake. It was knowing some doors don't slam, they lean open and wait. And I was already leaning. I listened. We left before dawn. Mark drove because the Corolla sulked, and because he needed something to do with his hands. The highway unspooled. I watched Philadelphia fall behind and told myself I wasn't running. I was arriving. "Rules hold," he said. "In the room you answer, after we talk. You too, me especially." Manhattan rose like a rumor that chose to be true. We parked in a garage, took an elevator that forgot a few floors, and stepped into glass that reflected more than it revealed. The receptionist looked me over. "Elias fine," she said. "Congratulations or condolences." The scout from last night appeared with a tablet. "Walk," I did. "Back, forward, profile, teeth," she said. The camera blinked. She swiped through Mark's shots. "You shoot again?" "Sometimes," he said. "Careful. This industry keeps grudges longer than faces." A man in a blazer floated in. Rise with A, the letter doing more work than he did. He circled me. "Placeable," he murmured. "If he's clean." "Clean?" I asked. He tapped the tablet. My email to a New York agent glowed. Then another image with a caption I hadn't written. Me outside Mark's studio last night. Hood up, bruise bright. Another one on Elias' cot. My stomach tightened. I looked at Mark. He went still. "Where did you get that?" I said. "People send things," Rise said. "When a man quits the game, his enemies don't quit him. We book on talent, not gossip," the scout said. "This has nothing to do with Leo's face," Mark said. "It has everything to do with yours," Rise said. "You walked out and made better pictures in a dark room. People think you're building a side door." Mark's eyes found mine. "We can leave." I tasted a headline swallowing me alive. "Measure me," I said to Rise. "Leave him out." Rise nodded and pointed to the light. "Lose the sweatshirt, makeup on the bruise." "No," Mark said. "Yes," Rise said. "We prefer our stories with softened edges." The makeup artist dulled the purple into a shadow and clipped a number to my waistband. "Walk, turn, hold, release." Rishum threaded the room. I kept my face useful. When it ended, the scout exhaled. Placeable, if he's not a headline. Well, be in touch, Rise said. In the hall, Mark leaned against the wall for one breath. I didn't know about the photo. I believe you, I said, and heard the crack. On the elevator down, a woman got in a vintage blazer. She clocked Mark and didn't look away. Still pretending you're retired, he blinked. Hello, Wit. Don't hello me. The door opened, she stepped out, over her shoulder to me. Ask him about if in. Then decide whose studio you want to be seen in. The garage pressed heat against the windows. If in, I asked. A man I couldn't save, he said. Or wouldn't. Depends on who's telling it. Which one is yours? In mine, I left before I ruined him. And in hers? I ruined him by leaving. The bruise pulsed. I came with you, I said. But I won't be a decoy if it means becoming a rumor. He opened the car, shut it again. I told you not to save me. Telling you not to drown me. Something shifted in his face, fear or surrender. Then know this, that photo. It came from my phone. Someone cloned it years ago. Whenever I try to start over, the past forwards the message. The bond snapped with a quiet I felt in my teeth. We drove back without speaking. The highway unspooled again. At the studio door he handed me my backpack. Stay tonight, he said. Then you should go. New York will still be there, will you? He looked at the wall of faces that never blinked. I don't know how to be there without being followed. Then stopped moving like a target. He nodded once, bowing to a truth neither of us wanted. Inside, the room measured the space we'd lost. I stood under the proofs and felt heater click off, room listening. Whatever we were, it now had edges sharp enough to draw blood. Sleep failed early, and often. By dawn I had packed and unpacked the same shirt 3 times. Mark moved through the studio like a man auditioning for his own life, precise, quiet, almost gone. He'll head out after. Coffee, I said. Bus to New York leaves every hour, he answered. I might swing by my father's laptop. Don't go alone. You told me not to save you. Let me try saving me. I took the Corolla. The bruise had yellowed to a tired sun. My street waited empty. My key skated, failed. Locks changed, of course. The door opened on a chain. My father. Eyes were dry, voice not. Return the computer, it's mine. It's mine because you live where I pay. The door shut, chain scraped, wind chimes cried for us. I left. A blue sedan slid to the curb. Rise leaned over the roof like he owned the weather. Leo, how did you find me? Philadelphia is small if you ask the right people. He smiled. Come back in 6 months. Bring cheekbones and no headlines. You drove here to say no. To say I'm not your villain. Your mentor is? He opened the rear door. A man climbed out, late 30s, great hair, eyes that knew where to land. Ivin, Rise said, Elias greatest almost. Ivin scanned me like a receipt. He'll push you into light and leave you in the shadow of the frame. That's his art. Get off my street. Ivin's smile twitched. Tell him Wit still hides his sins on a drive labeled taxes. Hell understand. They left like they'd only stopped to check the sky. I turned the car around. Mark had the door open before I knocked. You saw him. Ivin and Rise. They came like they were selling windows. What did he say? Taxes, it hit him. I kept proof, he said. Contracts, messages, insurance. I thought truth was as safe. Turns out it's a fuse. Come with me. Now, New York. He looked at the wall of faces like they might keep the room from emptying. I can't. Not yet. Then promise me this. If anyone shows, Rise, Ivin, my father call. Don't carry it alone. Another rule broken, he said, softer. Okay. We hugged for the first time like we were arguing with gravity. His hand stopped on my ribs. Breathe where my hand is. He whispered. I did. I left before we made it worse by making it better. At the station the board flipped names that sounded like places I could become. I took New York. I texted the scout on my way. She sent an address and a thumbs up that felt like borrowed faith. The bus pulled out. Philadelphia shrank until it could fit in my pocket. At Trenton, unknown. He's not answering. Men at the studio. Tell him to open the back door and leave. I stood. Emergency, I told the driver and jumped at the stop. A cab that smelled like old cologne dragged me back through rain and mistakes. Mark didn't pick up, then a text. Mark. Back door, alley, 2 men. Wit sent then nothing. Traffic thickened. The storm returned like it had been waiting offstage. The cab dropped me a block away. The alley behind the studio channeled wind like a threat. The back door was propped with a light stand. Inside, voices, drawers, paper like weather. Mark. I said, here, he answered from the darkroom. I slid in and shut the door. Red light made us both look already hurt. They want the drive, he said. They think it buys them silence. Give it, I said, and heard fear edit my voice. If I do, I disappear again, he said. If I don't, you do. Footsteps crossed the studio. Elias, you don't need ghosts, a man said. Another laughed. Window, I said. It stuck, then gave. Rain blew in like warnings. They'll follow, he said. Then don't run. I will. Leo, use me as the decoy you promised me you wouldn't. Meet me at the station in an hour. If you're not there, I go alone. He stared. Then he reached under the enlarger, lifted a tin of photo paper, and peeled a thumb drive from the underside. He pressed it into my palm. Why me? Because you'll take it where it hurts them. You're not afraid of light. The lock clicked in the other room. I slid the drive into my sock, swung out the window, climbed, a shout behind me. My name said wrong. I hit the alley and ran. City turned slick and fast, a maze that didn't care if I solved it. At the corner a figure stepped into the light. Not Rise, not Evin, my father. He looked at me like head finally chosen aside, and it wasn't mine. Behind him, umbrella low, Rise watched like the weather had appointed him. I ran. My father shouted. Sirens far off. The drive bit my ankle. I reached the station and blended into bodies with somewhere to be. I bought a ticket with shaking hands and took the stairs 2 at a time. On the platform I let the open air sting me awake. My phone buzzed. Mark 1 hour, east entrance. Don't lose it. I stared down the track and felt the chapter turn like a door I couldn't unopen. Somewhere below the city's skin, a clock started, and I knew the next hour would decide who I got to be. The platform wind pressed my clothes to my bones. Trains came and left like choices I wasn't ready to make. I stood under the east entrance sign and scanned every face twice. At 15 minutes, I saw Evin first. He didn't hide. Umbrella closed, coat open, eyes bright. Rise followed, talking into the air like the city took dictation. Morning, Leo, Rise said. Hand over the past, and your future can board in peace. I kept my hands in my pockets so they wouldn't see them tremble. You brought my father to my street. I gave him closure, Rise replied. You chose drama. Where's Mark? Evin asked. It landed closer than I wanted. Running late. He won't run, Evin said. He only leaves. A delay scraped the loudspeaker. The crowd adjusted. The smell of coffee turned bitter in the wind. My phone buzzed. East stairs. 2 men. Ill draw them. If I don't make it, give the drive to Wit. Don't be a hero, I typed. Didn't plan on it, he wrote. Just tired of being a rumor. Evin watched my face like he could read it. For a second I saw the version of him that might have been a Have, until the angle changed and I remembered he was here on someone else's leash. Leo, he said softly, you're not the first kid he pulled under a light when it was raining. Maybe hell leave the light on this time. A shout. 2 men shouldered through. Mark appeared behind them with nothing but a camera, as if it could still save him. Elias, Rise drawled at last. Mark fired the shutter. The men flinched. It was only sound, but it hollowed a beat of space. Give them the drive, he said to me, then walk away. No, I said. Evin took half a step toward him, an old habit-tugging leash. You should have stayed gone, he said. You sent the photo, Mark replied. It was already out there, Evin said. I only pointed. Another train roared past. Wind unraveled a newspaper between us. I bent as if to catch it, slipped the drive from my sock and palmed it. Wrist smiled. Sharpened. Wise choice. Truth time. I said to Mark, tell me about Evin. Tell me why you left. I loved him, Mark said. I made him into an image when he needed a person. The image won, so I left to stop winning. Evin didn't blink. You didn't leave to save me. You left because the picture of yourself as a martyr was prettier. Both can be true, Mark said. I felt the fuse in my palm. My father would have called it indecision. I called it choosing. Carefully, Wit, I said. Rise frowned. What Wit? I raised my voice. Heads turned. There she was at the top of the stairs, blazer dry, gaze hard. Elias, she said, descending. You finally brought the receipts. I offered the drive. This belonged to whoever is brave enough to use it without pretending they didn't. She took it. Copies. Enough, Mark said, and for once he wasn't promising and withholding at the same time. The 2 men closed in. Wit didn't flinch. Gentlemen, she said, I just texted 3 reporters and 1 investigator who hates you. Touch him, Elias, and you'll have a camera in your teeth before lunch. Rise recalculated. Evin closed his eyes. Leo, Mark said, so quiet only I heard it. You don't owe me anything, I know. I said, that's why I'm still here. He looked at the bruise turning to memory. I'm sorry I made you a decoy even for a minute. I volunteered. Rise exhaled. Fine, he said. Keep your ghosts. The city will forget you again. He turned, expecting Evin to follow. Evin didn't. He looked at Mark like the last frame in a contact sheet. Say it, he told him. Mark swallowed. I should have said it before I left, he managed. I loved you. I love stop, Evin said then, softer. Too late doesn't mean untrue. Our train slid in. Doors hissed open like a stage cue. Go, Wit told me, before the weather changes. I looked at Mark. His hand hovered and then touched my ribs. The soft point head taught me to breathe into. The touch said, "If you go now, we might not be careful later. Come with me," I said. He glanced at Whit, at Ivan, at the men who had decided not to act, at the drive now out of his pocket and out of his control. He looked like a man who had stepped into his own frame and didn't recognize it. "I can't," he said. "Not until this is finished." Anger flared and burned down to something clearer. "Then finish it," I said. "And find me." The train chimed. I stepped on. Mark stayed on the platform, framed by wind and fluorescent forgiveness he didn't believe in. As the doors closed, he lifted the camera and took one last picture. I didn't pose. I met the lens like it was a promise. The train moved. Through the glass I saw Rise vanish, Whit dialing Eve in very still, and Mark lowering the camera like an oath head finally decided to keep. I let the city carry me forward, heart loud, face steady, a door inside me finally unlocked, for now. The train carried me north, but my chest stayed in Philadelphia. I watched the city flatten into distance and told myself I was free. The bruise faded, the faces in Mark's studio blurred into memory, yet every mile felt borrowed, like I hadn't earned it. In New York, the scout shook my hand, clipped numbers to my chest, told me to walk like I'd done it all my life. Cameras flashed, strangers scribbled notes. For the first time I wastened invisibly. It had felt less like being seen, more like being tested. Between poses I searched the crowd for Mark. He wasn't there. No camera, no quiet voice, no hand steady on my ribs. Only empty space that knew his shape. That night I sat by the Hudson and checked my phone. Nothing. No message, no call. I dialed anyway, straight to voicemail. My own voice echoed back, "Leave your story after the tone." The drive was gone. Whit had it. Maybe Mark had stayed to burn his past. Maybe Head let it burn him. Maybe he never left that platform. The river smelled like iron and secrets. I told myself I could start over here, build a name, pay for an apartment where locks didn't change. But a truth sat heavy in my chest. I wasn't running from my father, or Rise, or Vin. I was running from the silence Mark left me in. I closed my eyes and saw him lift the camera one last time. The shutter froze me in place forever mid-step, caught between leaving and staying. Maybe that was the only frame he ever meant to keep. The city hummed, the river moved, my phone stayed dark. And in that silence I understood. Some doors never close, but some never open again.